Good to have you with us at this hour with the latest news updates. I'm Daniel Choy. We begin here in the South Korean political realm. The Cabinet and Presidential Office plan to launch a joint consultative body to coordinate government policy in this, the third year at the helm for the Park Geun-hye administration. Officials say the new body will include 2 deputy prime ministers, 3 senior presidential secretaries, and other ministers or secretaries relevant to the issues at hand. Plus, the presidential office will launch a separate consultative body with 8 senior secretaries to monitor and strengthen policy implementation. The new government bodies were launched in the wake of a public backlash over revisions to the tax system and a suspension of plans to revamp the national health insurance system. They are designed to ensure the smooth coordination of all government policies from the initial stages to execution, modification, and announcement. Well, North Korea says the U.S. rejected a recent invitation to a top diplomat. Quoting an unnamed spokesperson for the North's foreign ministry, the Korean Central News Agency reported that Sung Kim, the U.S. special representative on North Korea policy, rejected an invitation from Pyongyang to visit the North during his trip to Asia. That spokesperson added that Washington is working to shift blame to Pyongyang, leading people to believe dialogue and context are not realized due to the regime's insincere attitude. The comment comes 2 days after Kim told reporters in Beijing that he was disappointed about not meeting with the North Koreans during his trip. The diplomat added that Pyongyang must be ready for serious and productive discussions on the nuclear issue before any kind of talks can begin. Speaking of North Korea, the regime has roughly 70 submarines, mostly designed to attack the South. To better counter that underwater threat, South Korea has launched a submarine command that will be in charge of all submarine-related activities, including striking down underwater targets from the communist regime. Our Kim Hyun-bin reports.
The South Korean Navy inaugurated a submarine command on Sunday to bolster its underwater capabilities and combat readiness against North Korea. The fleet of the command, located in the southern port city of Jinhae, is led by a rear admiral in charge of 13 submarines.
This is not another submarine fleet. We are launching the submarine command to enhance our military strength and become the country's core strategic force.
The fleet of 13 includes 9 1,200-ton and 4 1,800-ton subs. By the year 2019, the Navy is planning to add 5 1,800-ton subs. And by 2020, the Navy will deploy 9 3,000-ton submarines capable of launching ballistic missiles. With the launch, South Korea has become the 6th nation to launch a submarine command after the U.S., Japan, France, Britain, and India. A huge advance since South Korea commissioned its first submarine from Germany in 1992. Even with the new command, North Korea still outnumbers the South in terms of submarine power. The North is believed to have some 70 submarines, roughly 4 times that of South Korea, and just behind the United States. Seoul and Washington also believe the North has new submarines that are capable of launching missiles. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Returning to the political arena, the future of the ruling Saenuri Party hangs in the balance as it elects a new floor leader on Monday, with the 2 leading candidates seeking to take the party in different directions. 4-term lawmaker Lee Ju-young has pledged to restore relations between the party and the Park Geun-hye administration. Representative Yoo Seung-min is vowing to make drastic changes within the party ahead of next year's general elections. Won Yu-chul and Hong Moon-jong are also running for the post. The man who was on the receiving end of the infamous nut rage is back at work. According to Korean Airlines, Park Chang-jin served on a domestic flight from Seoul to Busan this Sunday. Park was forced off a Korean Air flight that was heading back to Seoul from New York last December. That order was given by Cho Hyun-ah, the carrier's former vice president and the company chairman's eldest daughter. She was angry that Park had served her a bag of macadamia nuts instead of opening it up for her and serving it on a plate. She was indicted last month on charges of obstructing aviation safety. Her father, Cho Yang-ho, was a witness last week at her trial. He apologized for the incident and said Park will not be the subject of any unfair treatment as he returns to his post. It appears a second Japanese hostage has been beheaded by Islamic State militants a week after the other Japanese hostage was beheaded. Condemning the terrorist act, Tokyo vowed to increase its support for those working against that terrorist organization. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The Islamic State has released another video that shows the beheading of a second Japanese hostage, journalist Kenji Kodo. Japan's defense ministry says the video appears to be genuine. This a week after another video appearing to show the beheading of Japanese hostage Haruna Yukawa. In response, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said he feels intense indignation and vowed to bring those responsible to justice.
This is a very unjust and cowardly terrorist act, and we remain extremely angry about it. We do not forgive terrorists.
He vowed to increase Japan's humanitarian aid to support those working against the Islamic State, but he dismissed the possibility of increasing military support for multinational forces fighting the IS, saying they're different issues. Meanwhile, Koto's mother was visibly upset upon hearing the news about her son.
I wish to continue to believe in Kenji Gato's wish for a world without war, and in his work to save children from poverty and war.
Tokyo says it has no new information on a Jordanian pilot who was also captured by IS militants. The latest video didn't indicate whether he's still alive after a stalemate over a prisoner swap proposed by the IS. Meanwhile, international condemnation of the Islamic State group is intensifying, prompting countries to take action. Bahrain has decided to strip more than 70 of its nationals from citizenship for supporting IS militants. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
We shift the focus to Hong Kong now. Pro-democracy protesters there returned to the streets this Sunday. It's the first such gathering since the Occupy movement was cleared in December. Rally organizer Civil Human Rights Front said they had been expecting 50,000, but only 13,000 showed up. Police officers on the scene said there were only about 4,000 marching. So far, there are no official numbers from the city yet. Demonstrators carried yellow umbrellas, the symbol of the protests that began in September. They are demanding the right to choose the territory's leader. Beijing wants to approve the candidates first. Smoke got in the eyes of many scholars around the world as one of Russia's largest public libraries has been partially destroyed by a major fire. Over 200 firefighters battled the blaze from late Friday through Saturday evening to save the Institute of Scientific Information and Social Sciences in Moscow, but they could not prevent a section of the roof from collapsing. The cause of the fire is yet unclear, but according to Russian media, an electrical short circuit may have started the blaze. No one was injured, thankfully, but 1 million historic documents, or 15% of the library's collection, was damaged. Vladimir Fortov, president of the Russian Academy of Sciences, called the disaster a cultural Chernobyl, referring to the 1986 nuclear catastrophe. Ironically, much of the damage was caused by water from the firefighting operation. Moving on to sports and ads. When it's time for the final game to decide the champion of the National Football League, millions of Americans tune in for the love of the game and the ads in between the plays. Super Bowl ad time doesn't come cheap, and this year, a 30-second spot cost $4.5 million. That's up $500,000 from last year. Even though the prices are through the roof, experts say it's more than worth it, as the commercials aired during the grand football finale have a greater impact than any other sporting event in America, as it attracts more than 100 million viewers each year, accounting for roughly 70% of the total viewers in the United States. Korea's first privately backed commercial satellite is set to lift off in late February. It's just one of the projects under development by the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, which plans to spend the year working on new projects to keep the country sharp in the global space race. Our Son Jung-in has this report.
This is the Arirang 3A, Korea's first domestically developed multi-purpose satellite. It is equipped with electro-optic and infrared sensor cameras that will enable Korean researchers to see high-resolution images of the Earth even at night. The camera can take pictures that are twice as clear as the Arirang 3, the satellite currently in operation. The 3A is now in its final stage of development ahead of the blast-off from Russia's Yasny launch site sometime in late February.
All that's left is to connect the upper module of the launch vehicle to the satellite. And after we finish testing the electrical power, everything will be ready for liftoff.
The Institute's new project to develop the KSLV-2, the Korea Space Launch Vehicle No. 2, is also in full swing. Its first stage was completed over a period of 5 years, and the project is now in its second phase, which involves connecting the 7-ton and 75-ton liquid engines. Up until last year, scientists had focused on testing the engines, but this year they will concentrate on testing other parts of the rocket, in addition to test firing the engines once they're assembled.
This year marks a turning point in our quest to develop our own space launch vehicle as we combine the technology of the equipment and the facilities that we've developed so far.
The Korea Aerospace Research Institute, together with 15 other local institutions, pledges to push ahead with its research and development program to further enhance Korea's competitiveness in the global space race. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
And now the weather, even with insulated walls and strong studio lighting, it is pretty cold here in Korea because we're back to sub-zero temperatures here. Similar chilly conditions are expected to continue on Monday morning in most parts of the nation, but the mercury will bounce back up above zero at midday. We have clear skies free of snow and rain throughout the week in the capital. And now let's check out the weather in your neck of the woods and around the world. We've come to the end of our newscast. As always, thank you for watching, and do have a great start to your week.